In today's video, I bring you something a little bit different compared to my regular content, and that is my top 10 One Punch Man facts, trivia, hidden details, and knowledge that I found interesting. And of course, I bring this list to you guys today because I want to discuss some of these things on the list with you guys. And of course, before the video does begin, I will warn you that there is potential spoilers for the entirety of the One Punch Man series across all of its media, and so that means the webcomic, the manga, and of course the anime. So kicking off my list of my top 10 One Punch Man facts, trivia, and hidden details, I have Saitama's weakness. In 2015, the One Punch Man Hero Encyclopedia was released, and in this encyclopedia contains information about the heroes of the Hero Association, things like their rank, data about the Hero Hunt arc, and about villains, monsters, battles, and of course the general world of One Punch Man. And it also comes with a making and an interview with One and Murata. This is where we get an interesting question asked by the interviewer, which goes as follows. Does Saitama have any weaknesses in sports? Short answer, he has. 1. I think running is his specialty, but he isn't good at sports like table tennis, football, and etc., where technique is required because Saitama hasn't practiced them. Murata replies with, when he is going to shoot the ball is going to disappear. Even if his power is incredible in terms of control and other technical aspects, he is no match for a pro, isn't he? One replies to this with, and it feels like he is poor in team sports. When Saitama is pinned down, I feel like that he will lose his motivation to play sports at all. Now, this was a very interesting response from both Murata, the mangaka and artist for One Punch Man, and of course One, the creator of One Punch Man, because we know that Saitama, being this all-powerful person that knows no bounds or has no limits, has a very simple weakness. That being technique, or at least learning techniques that require more than just throwing a punch or running with his immense physical capability. This makes a lot of sense considering we had an entire arc revolving around Saitama trying to learn martial arts by entering the Super Fight Martial Arts Tournament, in which ended in him gaining nothing and of course learning nothing really about martial arts. And so for Saitama to master such skills, it would take years of practice, but what would be the point of that if Saitama would eventually lose his patience and motivation, knowing that he could just use his incredible strength to punch his way out of a situation? But in this context, sports was used, which also requires a lot of footwork and hand-eye coordination and of course strategy. You know, these are things Saitama simply doesn't really want to be bothered with at all, which is probably another reason why Saitama loses to King all the time, especially when they play video games, which so happens to utilize button combinations. So there you have it. If you want to beat Saitama at something, then you better make sure it revolves around some sort of skillful technique that requires years of learning, because he sucks at it. Unless you count time travel as a technique, then he doesn't suck at that. Coming in at our number 2 spot, I have a Salty Murata. In 2016, Murata and One were given the Best Manga Award by Sugoi Japan, an event in Japan that acknowledges pop culture media. And not only did they beat Tokyo Ghoul, you can hold the L on that one, but they were also interviewed, in which the interviewer asks this question. I feel a strange connection to Mr. Murata coming back to Shonen Jump after English translations of his work came out. I heard that comic sales in the US are affected by the anime adaptation, so wouldn't the anime that's airing right now start to affect sales? One replies with, the quality of the anime is really great, it's absolutely amazing. Murata also replies with, I'm amazed every time. There are textures and scenes that are impossible in the manga. For example, when Saitama is fighting the underground beings, that's the only part where Saitama is using his full strength. Although it ends as a dream, it's because of it that allows the scene to become even more extravagant. In the anime, it was depicted a lot more extravagantly, so I was moved. I was a bit salty that I couldn't do the same too. Now, I think it's funny knowing that Murata was a little bit bitter knowing that the anime adaptation of the One Punch Man anime outdid him in the fighting between Saitama and the Subterraneans, because in the manga it was really cut short and there wasn't, it wasn't as flashy as it was in the anime, but honestly, it speaks volumes to the success of One Punch Man's debut as an anime, because I think if it wasn't for that amazing dream sequence, One Punch Man wouldn't have left as big of an impression onto watchers if they had faithfully adapted the fight from the manga one to one, but clearly they knocked it out of the park. And of course, not only did they impress the ever so talented artists like Murata, but left him a nice little slap on the neck to push him beyond his limits for the future fights to come in the manga. Coming in at our number 3 spot, I have Saitama's early concept / character design. We have yet another interview question that was asked at the 2016 Sugoi Japan event, but this time it's about Saitama's character design. The question goes as follows. I agree that even if there are many different appealing heroes and villains appear, by having a stable character like Saitama in the middle, the story development gets more exciting. Is there anything that you, Mr. Murata, keep in mind when drawing these characters? Murata replies with, just try not to lose any of the character's appeal. I basically revamped the artwork of the original One Punch Man, so the only thing I have to think about is emphasizing the character's appeal. In reality, an artist's job starts before he even starts drawing. It's important to know the character's good parts. If you don't understand that to the core, there is no point in drawing the character in the first place. On the flip side, as long as you understand the character's appeal, there are so many scenes that come into your mind to draw that appeal out. So the only thing I care for is if I can accurately grasp Mr. One's character's appeal. The interview follows this up with, so that's why Saitama is drawn so exquisitely while capturing his original artwork. Murata replies to this with, I actually started drawing him off really cool looking, lol. I was thinking that if I was working as the artist, I should make everyone look as cool as possible. In that process, I was making Saitama look handsome or adding stars in his eyes, but I scrapped all of it. In the end, those things don't matter to Saitama's nature. His appeal isn't in his looks, so I thought that if I didn't take Mr. One's original design, Saitama would end up a completely different character. I had a lot of fun working on this. I've been drawing a manga for quite a while now, but I realized that I hadn't fully grasped even the basics yet. So there you have it. Saitama was originally going to look a lot more different than the design we are used to today, even having a different colored cape before the giant meteor arc, and honestly, I'm glad Murata stuck with One's original look for Saitama. After all, it's that sort of detached, easygoingness, bored look on his face that really speaks 1,000 words without actually having to say anything. Saitama, he operates under a completely different logic than those around him. That type of aloofness of doing things at his own pace really tells you that Saitama is a different breed compared to not just his other hero associates in the story, but some of your other favorite shonen protagonists. Coming in at our number 4 spot here on my list of top 10 One Punch Man facts, I have Zombieman Powerscaling. In 2015, on a YouTube livestream hosted by the mangaka Yamada Reiji, he has creator of One Punch Man 1 as a special guest for his 30th episode, in which we see One answer various questions from fans and viewers in the live chat room, and occasionally some of these questions. And of course, one of these questions he answered was about Zombieman. And although the question isn't listed on any site, since One actually didn't read any of the questions out loud, instead he kind of just answered them on the fly as they come down in the chat, I think it's safe to assume that the question he read was most likely about Zombieman's regenerative ability, which reads as follows. Zombieman needs 15 minutes to recover a cut off arm. He'll die if we reduce him to mincemeat. There's the rumor that he's the physically weakest among S-class heroes, but it hasn't been confirmed. It would be difficult for him to defeat the Deep Sea King. So for all the power scalers out there that need stats for a One Punch Man or Zombieman video matchup, then this is a really good place to start right here, because one reveals that it takes 15 minutes for Zombieman to recover a cut off arm. But don't get too ahead of yourselves, because we don't know if this implies for his other limbs like his legs or even his head. I think it's kind of cool to know that Zombieman can die if you essentially turn him into some ground beef, but it's even more interesting to know that one neither confirms or denies that Zombieman is physically the weakest out of the S class, which comes off as a surprise to me, knowing well that, Zombieman really doesn't physically get into combat himself, but heavily relies on his regenerative ability and his attrition, and of course his weapons like his revolver or sword or even an axe. Maybe there's a plan set for Zombieman in the future where he becomes really strong, but who knows. I also like that one says that he could defeat Deep Sea King, but of course it wouldn't be easy. It would be really difficult, but it's not impossible. So it really makes me wonder what other monsters that we have seen in the story that Zombieman could defeat. But I'm gonna leave that to you power scalers out there, so let me know in the comment section below. Coming in at our number 5 spot here on my list of top 10 One Punch Man facts, trivia, and hidden details, I have Saitama's past. We all know Saitama's past life before he became the strongest is quite a mystery, with only a couple bonus chapters and OVAs giving us a glimpse of his past life here and there of his earlyhood. We know that he had a pretty normal school life from like middle school to high school, with some bullying and of course some monster encounters here and there, but it's that after high school life that's missing. Did he go to college right after high school, like university, or did he just have a job after all? He was unemployed for a time until he officially joined the Hero Association. But in the One Punch Man encyclopedia, we do get some insight as to what Saitama was doing and how he was able to survive before he became an official hero. The interviewer asks, what did Saitama do before he became jobless? Murata replies with, didn't one sensei depict this in his picture diary on his old homepage? One replies to this with, he was working part-time in a convenience store. The interviewer follows up with another question. How did Saitama make a living before he became a pro hero? The answer to this was by living very frugally with his savings. Murata replies to this with, what does this mean? One goes into further detail by saying he made a living doing troublesome part-time jobs by living frugally to the utmost while spending as little of his saved up money and living off vegetables given to him by people he saved. It's the lifestyle as advocated by the slow movement, isn't it? By the way, after Genos gave him money, his standard of living hasn't changed at all that much, with Genos moving over. Now, of course, I love this piece of lore that was given to us by One himself. We all knew that Saitama was a bit of a cheapskate and is someone who doesn't want to miss a sale, especially for his groceries. But it's even funnier to know that Saitama worked part-time jobs like at a convenience store just to get by, and it really just adds this element of relatability to his character. And of course, I also really find it funny how Saitama takes, vegetables and food as payment for the people he saved. That's very, very, like, such a Saitama thing to do. Coming in at our number 6 spot, I have Saitama's Drip. In the limited edition DVD set for Season 1, there is a 96-page booklet that features many little tidbits and pieces of information about One Punch Man, and in one of the notes in the booklet states that Saitama prefers casual clothing such as flip-flops because they're the easiest to change out of and of course kick off if a battle so happens. Saitama may not be the most flashy, fashionable character, but he is at least always battle ready at all times. Speaking of drip, coming in at our number 7 spot, I have Garou's Drip. Now, Garou is not only known for his villainy role in the story of One Punch Man, but his attire has grown on a small niche group of people who are into bodybuilding and of course aesthetics. That whole group of people who work out or people who just like working out clothing. But he didn't always look that way. In fact, he was wearing a different style of clothing in the webcomic While he is known for his martial arts getup in the manga, in the original webcomic, he is wearing regular sneakers and jeans, even as a monster when he monsterized and fought Saitama. And you know, that's pretty funny to know, so I can imagine that there's probably like a sketch out there of Murata taking this webcomic design and adapting it into his art style, and it's probably out there and it'll probably never be seen, but I'd like to imagine that it probably looks a little bit uncanny compared to what we're used to, and I'm glad we got that martial arts getup design. Coming in at our number 8 spot, I have the first alien Invaders. Now, what if I told you Boros and the Dark Matter crew weren't the first aliens to invade Earth and the first aliens that Saitama has fought? In chapter 5 of the One Punch Man manga, we can see a flashback that Saitama is having during his monologue about his existential indifference. This is where we see a panel of him punching what appears to be an alien monster with a UFO in the background. Although it could be some aircraft that could have easily been made on Earth or stolen from Earth, you know, and not something that came from outer space, me personally, I'd like to think that it's a visitor from the cosmos. But, you know, this panel wasn't even adapted into the anime either, so who knows? Let me know your guys' thoughts about that one. Coming in at our number 9 spot, we have Sonic's new hairdo. Or should I say old. During the battle between Genos and Sonic right after Fubuki's introduction arc, Genos ends up cutting off and removing the knot from Sonic's hair, causing him to have shorter hair, and this new hairstyle is a nod to Sonic's actual hairstyle in the webcomic. So just a cool little detail there for you guys. And last but not least, here at our number 10 spot on my top 10 One Punch Man facts, trivia, and hidden knowledge list, I have Fubuki is best through Garou. In a live stream in 2017, Murata was seen drawing some panels for the Garou vs Metal Bat fight, where we hear Murata agree with a viewer's comment stating that Fubuki is best girl.
Fubuki best girl. Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not the real fact. Okay, but in all seriousness, right? In chapter 182, when Tatsumaki arrives to protect Fubuki from the Tsukuyomi members, Fubuki is seen playing kitchen with her plushies. Those plushies are a dog and a monkey, which oddly resemble two monsters that we're pretty familiar with. Those two monsters being Overgrown Rover, who is currently the newest member of Fubuki's Blizzard group, and the monkey resembling Black Sperm, the former Monster Association Cadre who is being looked after by Saitama's A-class neighbors. Just another nice little detail for anyone who hasn't noticed it in the manga. So those were my top 10 One Punch Man facts, trivia, and hidden details about everything One Punch Man. Of course, please let me know which one was your favorite down below in the comments, or you can let us know another piece of trivia, facts, or hidden details that I may have not noticed, so go ahead and please leave that in the comment section below. I am Amir Punch, and as always, I will be seeing you in the next one. See ya.